Hey there, you're listening to the EmpowerTech podcast with Ijari Savalos. This podcast is where we discuss all things tech and explore the growing ways in how we can leverage technology to lead smart, sustainable and impactful lives. In this episode, we talk to Rosie Atwell. She's a technical program manager at CSIRO's Cyber Physical Systems Group. We get to hear about the different types of robotics, what robotics jobs here in Australia look like, and some of the exciting projects being delivered. Rosie leads robotics and autonomous systems projects across space, defence, energy, natural disasters and nuclear safety. She played a key role in the AstroBee project that successfully launched CSIRO's multi-resolution scanning device with NASA and Boeing Australia in March of 2024. Amongst advancing nuclear safety and collaborating with international partners to develop client-resistant wildfire management solutions, Rosie is passionate about STEM advocacy. Let's get started. Rosie, so glad to have you here today. I'm really excited about talking to you. Let's get started. I'm going to give you the big one. What is robotics all about?
Great question, Jari, and thanks for having me on the show today. We do have a definition where robotics is all about designing, building and programming intelligent machines that can sense, think and act in the world. I, at work, liken it to if you think about humans working in dull, dirty, dangerous and devilishly impossible environments, this is a great opportunity for where you could deploy a robot.
Wow. Okay. That makes me think about all sorts of unsafe environments. And look, what are some of the exciting projects that CSIRO Robotics is involved with today?
So you might have seen our work featured in the news last year or recently in terms of what we've been doing in the Robotics and Autonomous Systems Group. Last year in March, we had a joint project with NASA and Boeing Australia to launch a multi-resolution scanning payload in the NASA's AstroBee robot, and that was sent on the International Space Station resupply mission up with their spaceship, and that is in space currently. So that was launched in March. And you might have also seen last year towards the end of last year, we were featured on Channel 7 where we partnered with a company called Charm, I think. And essentially we were helping develop soft robotics and soft grippers on the end of a robot arm that was helping with planting, or a robot that was helping with planting baby coral. So baby coral was picked up and planted effectively and treading carefully in that space through the use of soft robotics. So that's a new kind of area for our team.
Okay, wow, exciting. So I'm going to ask questions about the NASA project first because I am a bit of a space geek. Can you tell me more about what that particular project was aiming to do?
Yeah, so that project in particular was a great opportunity for us to partner with the team on site here in Brisbane. So we are in Pullenvale, just out of the city, and we work on site with the CSIRO Minerals group as well. So Minerals do a lot of work in space where you see a really nice collision of themes can be compared. You can look at mining solutions and space solutions and put them in the same vein when it comes to caves and lava tubes. So for that work in particular, we have a long-standing relationship both with Boeing Australia and with NASA. But we were looking at ways of taking the more mundane and dull tasks away from astronauts, that it costs us a lot to send astronauts into space. They train for a very long time. So how can we lighten their load by having maybe robots helping, doing more menial kind of scans of the internal structure of the ISS, the spaceship, to sort of do those operations and checks where you can have astronauts focusing on other things.
Oh, okay. So they're similar to, I've seen Boston's Spot the Dog, where he can go in and scan an environment. Same sort of thing, but in space.
Yes, that's right. So our Wildcat SLAM, simultaneous localization and mapping technology, is what we're really known for on a global scale. So we participated in a almost like the world the Olympics for robotics. It was called the DARPA SubT challenge, subterranean challenge, and there were a handful of teams picked around the world to compete against each other by having robots perform missions in fleets. So robots helping each other to complete a task or this mission. Oh. And so I'm pointing that out because you've absolutely got it right. We have different types of robotic platforms like your Boston Dynamics Spot Dog. Now we just say they're legged robots. We've got tracked robots as well. You've got drones, so flying capabilities there. We've got robots that can go underground and in the sea as well. We've also got robots that just sit on the top of the water because they're measuring things within the water but can sit happily on top. And so Boston Dynamics and a couple of those other well-known platforms have so many different use cases. I think, though, in terms of what we do within CSIRO is a big point of difference in terms of what we offer the world is the simultaneous localization and mapping software. So as you mentioned, robots traversing in caves, in space, under the water, like helping with coral barrier reef rejuvenation. They can go on inspection and detection missions, and we can utilize a lot of those different platforms for that software that we develop.
Okay. And with the Coral project, how is that turning into, impact or positive impact on the environment? So do you normally sort of test in a zone, or just, I'm trying to get an idea of the scale of what this project might be impacting in a positive way?
Yeah, in a positive way. So we've done a lot of work previously, and you might have seen there was the Cyber Physical Systems Group, our DSS team, so our Distributed Sensing Systems team did paired up with Google to work on another project where we had used artificial intelligence to be able to successfully inspect and detect where crown thorn starfish were in the Great Barrier Reef. And I think in the marketing video that was produced out of it, they said that if you have a human currently performing the job, the robot performing the same job, the task of looking underwater and finding the crown thorn starfish, every time I say it, it's 20 times more successful in and accurate in detecting where that crown thorn starfish is on the reef's floor. So a lot of our activities, and you'll see this with CSIRO, with the National Science Agency, we are looking to make impact on a global scale where we can help rejuvenate parts of the Great Barrier Reef, and it does have that real environmental impact. I think the other use case as well when it comes to environments is looking at bushfires. So using robotics where, again, you're getting humans out of harm's way, where that typical environment might look very dangerous. We're part of a project, and I was helping with this project called Sylvanus, and it's essentially 49 member states from all over the world that have been sponsored by the European Commission. So a multi-million-dollar project that goes over a few years to see if, we can help other countries all over the world that experience wildfire or fire prevention, detection, and, before, during, and after a fire, how we can find solutions where we are leaning on robots to extend that human reach and get human out of harm's way. So in a very long way of answering your question, environmental impact is very important to CSIRO. So it makes sense for us to be part of work in coral and work with other labs that are trying to grow coral, rejuvenate the Great Barrier Reef, because it's such a huge and important icon for Australians.
Yeah, wow. I didn't realise how broad the work was. And it sounds like there's quite a lot of relationships that the lab forms to be able to contribute to more significant impacts.
Yeah, and you're correct there. And these are existing relationships that Australia and the Australian government have with overseas and national groups. So, for example, we have released a press release, which you can read about, with the Australian government has a 25-year-long relationship with the International Atomic Energy Agency, who are essentially, they regulate the nuclear power plants all over the world to ensure that no nuclear fuel is taken for creating nuclear weapons. So they're a really important body in terms of that regulation and safety and security piece. So
important. It sounds like a critical body. I didn't know they existed, but I'm glad that they do.
Yes, and it's very cool because one of the first projects that I was involved with was developing a first-in-world robot to a roboticized Cherenkov viewing device. It's called RVCD. I've got to say it quickly. And the IAEA, it's a International Atomic Energy Agency. It's a big name. And essentially this robot was designed to help, again, take humans out of harm's way, where today, we have humans performing this role of regulating the nuclear power plants. And without giving too much information away, essentially that robot does help with both the power plants, the nuclear power plants themselves, monitor the fuel, the spent fuel, but it also helps the regulatory world agency as well, ensure that none of that fuel is taken for nuclear weapons. And if you see online, you can see pictures of that robot, and essentially it's we've got a pool here in our lab where we've got that robot where we do our tests, and it's a robot that sits on top of the water, and the Cherenkov viewing device is sort of
submerged.
Yeah, within the pool.
Cool. Sounds like a pretty cool lab, Rosie. What is it like working in a robotics lab?
It's pretty awesome. Look, I must admit, when I think Australia's National Science Agency, the CSIRO, is an amazing place to work. Because and maybe that's my bias because of where I've come from or what I've done previously, but I've never really had a job like it. And I think not only is it, a lab to develop solutions that may not have been tried and tested before, so it's in that research and development space, but when it comes to robotics, there's so much to it that you can be involved in. You can continue learning, which is awesome. So, a typical day in the lab, I come across and work with engineers, lots of different types of engineers. So mechatronics engineers, software, hardware, electrical. I think the only one is civil that I haven't worked with yet, but there's such a breadth and depth to engineering, and you must make sure that you've engaged with the right people in order to sort of get to the crux of what we're trying to do and to do that successfully. And then on the other side of things, we have a huge amount of amazing, awesome scientists that we work with who may be doing first-in-world research in that domain as well. So they they vary as well in terms of their experience level. So, they might be junior and about to start their PhD, be in the middle of their PhD and working with CSIRO to help them with their work and their theory. And then also we've got post-PhD colleagues as well that we work with. So it's a really interesting blend of scientists, engineers, and then support services and people like me that help bring those concepts and ideas to life.
Yeah, wow, that's a plethora of skills and experience. Must be a very wide and diverse group of people to work with on any project that might be happening at CSIRO.
It is diverse in the sense that, I can work with people from Yugoslavia, China, and many different places in the world that are so good at what they do that it has taken them all over the world, and they've landed in Australia, and we've had this amazing collision of people coming together. The only aspect of diversity that we are looking at increasing and helping to support to see more of is the gender diversity. So in my area, there is a lot of work that is being done to try to see how can we attract and retain female talent in the workplace. And I know that it's a problem that starts at a really young age, but I know that CSIRO have conducted studies and are looking at ways to continue to transform themselves and transform the, those kids in school that dream about being part of this STEM industry. It's a really important issue and something that we're aware of. But in my workplace, in my day-to-day, I do work with a lot of men.
Well, you're still there and you're definitely not a man, Rosie, I must say. Now, before I ask more about some of these things that you do, you mentioned a type of engineer that I actually don't know a lot about. I think you called it a megatron.
Mechatronics?
Yeah, megatronic. What is megatronics?
So I with the electrical, mechanical, and software engineers, we have engineers in those three domains, and mechatronics is a blend of those three.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah. So, but it's funny because when I look into degrees of mechatronics and I hear from people with mechatronics degrees, they're like, oh, no one understands what it, like, no one understands what I do. So there's this whole interesting sort of these subcultures within engineering that I'm sort of discovering as well on my kind of quest, within my own workplace.
That sounds like an interesting bunch of people to be hanging out with. I do want to ask more on this lab because I've never been to one. And I've, you mentioned having a pool. I'm imagining that there might be, a part of the lab that's, people sitting at computers. Is there anything else in this lab that we should know about that might have people out there getting excited about working in robotics?
Absolutely. And I am so happy to talk about this. So I think the moment I stepped out of my car to do the interview, I was like, I've got to be here. That this is just, I'd come from the concrete jungle and now I'm in green space. I want to turn my computer around so you can have a look. But if you see us online, you can see the Pullen Vale site is 50 acres of grassland, industrial areas, and we've got all these facilities on site for your testing. So even though we have a workshop on site, and I was like, we're going to do some work in STEM. Like, do you think we can create some props that are like, huge scale kind of coral sculptures? And the workshop team was like, Rosie, we've never had any request that's too weird. Like, honestly, you can give us like, you name it. So it's fascinating. We have a pool. We have so much wildlife as well. I'm really grateful to be able to work on this land because we've got, we share it with, we've got cockatoos, water dragons, we've got wallabies in winter, we've got wild deer that have been captured on camera. We have a creek with platypus in the creek. And
wow.
some team members have said, I've worked here for 30 years, Rosie, and I've never seen it. And, someone comes in to do their PhD and they see it within the first week of being here. And it just brings us to tears. But the funny thing is on site, we actually do have a snake catcher. Right here. And then my colleagues say, but Rosie, don't present it that way because you're acting as though they're just here to be a snake catcher when they're also a scientist. So I'm like, oh, okay, well, yeah, all right, they're doing their science, but they are a snake catcher. And essentially what their job is to ensure that we work in a safe way. And if we come across wildlife and snakes whilst we're doing our tests, then they can relocate the snake to a nicer, more remote part of the site. But we have, I think we've got a native bush, like a bush ranger. We've got a native food trail as well.
Oh, okay.
Part of the site. And we have a research innovation centre, which next time you come over, or when you come over, I can take you through and sort of show you the scale of the robots because we have robots that are easily transportable. So a little robot that is called Gizmo, and they were designed specifically for STEM outreach activities. But we've also got robots that are like 2 meters high and 2 meters wide. Max is this robot. And it's sort of like a big daddy long legs, if you can imagine.
Yeah, okay.
Designed specifically to traverse through the rainforest and be scanning and understanding its surroundings in the rainforest environment. Yeah. So I think definitely talking about different environments helps kind of clarify like where the robots go, what they're used for, what they're doing.
Yeah.
And what they're built for.
Really wide variety, right? And you started to talk about, when I think about robots, I am thinking about the ones with hard shells and, metal and joints and they're moving around. But you mentioned earlier the soft little hand on the coral project.
Yes.
So are there different types of robots or parts to robotics?
Yes. So I think with we've got several teams, and I should remember the whole list off by heart, but there's like 8 or 9 different research streams. We've got it helps me distill down the breadth and depth of it if I think about the sites that we have. So we have the Pullen Vale site, and then we also have a site in Clayton down in Victoria. And then we have team members as well in Sydney, Marsfield, New South Wales. We've got a team in Canberra, ACT, and then we've also got a small team in Tasmania. So in terms of what we're doing, we have artificial intelligence teams, teams focusing on large language models. We have teams focused on human-robot interaction and the cues that the robot and the communication from the robots to the human to help with that communication piece of human has given a command to a robot. What does the robot deliver in terms of the information back to the human? Yeah. And so that just gives you a little bit of a flavour about, there's robots, but then there's also the work and development that happens around the robots to help with that human-robot interaction.
Yeah, so that they're effective at the job that they need to do.
Yes, but then there's a huge part of that where, there's robotics and it's the hard shell type style robotics. Then there's like this, it's called soft robotics. And, there can be sort of materials like silicon and like kind of suction style kind of pads that, suck something in to hold it and then lift and shift something. We've got materials. We've got a 3D printing lab on site too with maybe like 10 different 10 3D printers. And they also help us with printing out like what we're building. So if we've got sort of an artificial leg or something, it could be, some of the tendons being printed out or being created.
Okay, in different sorts of materials.
Yeah. But you're, hardware and like hard style, like kind of mechanical robots, and then we've got. I feel like I'm butchering this, so that if any of my colleagues listen to anything I've said today, everyone's going to say,
no judgment, Rosie, no judgment.
So many times that I don't even know where to start, Rosie. I have not learned anything in 3 years you've been here. I'm in big trouble with my team, I think.
No, totally. And I think the only other type of robot that I've heard of, like on the news and the media and stuff, are the ones that they're sort of starting to talk about being inside things like the brain and like the little mini ones that might be able to go in our blood and stuff like that. Does CSIRO get into that space at all, or is it mainly in the US that that's happening?
I'd have to confirm. I'd have to check, because there are so many facets of what we do across Australia. Even I can forget, what that cutting edge research is and what's happening, and whether or not I'm allowed to know about it as well. Yeah, I think definitely watching what comes out of the US can be quite a lot of the time I feel like I'm still behind the
cutting edge.
Yeah, because I'm sort of focused on what we're delivering right now, and then what we're delivering, like sometimes the runway can be like 10 years for some of the projects that I'm part of, particularly the ones that are to do with developing robotics for space, where there aren't a lot of easy ways for us to test things out on Earth. But I think they have such a long kind of runway.
Which is very different to some of these other things that are kind of like a couple of years and bam, they've had like.
That's it. But then you see things coming out in the news about how something's been turned around overnight, or it seems like it's been turned around overnight, but then it's maybe been kind of dormant for a while, or like bumbling under the surface.
Yeah.
Oh, a humanoid. Cool. Okay. What's he doing? Elon Musk, what's he doing now? We can barely keep up ourselves. So, it's an interesting space to play. And, my partner had a conversation with me about, being up to date with the news on this, because sometimes he sends me things and he's like, did you know about this? Very important. Did you know about this? You need an opinion on this. And I'm like, I'm just trying to get through because I must say, working in research and development, if you think about scoping out a piece of work with a client, what I appreciate the most out of what I've learnt in this role is how difficult it can be to scope something out that is first in world. I'm not going to pick up the phone and say, Salesforce support, do you guys know we've come across this problem? Yeah, you have as well. Oh, good. Okay, so you've come across it as well. It's like I've got to call, hey, NASA, yeah, did you guys get this thing? Like, we don't know. It's really hard, isn't it? I'm finding it like that's what I've learned out of the experience of working here is really you have to be very creative and think on your feet and adaptable. And sometimes you might not have all the answers.
Yeah, wow. It sounds amazing still. I'm still like, I need to be in this space. I'm almost at the end of my runway, but I'm still excited by what you're talking about.
Let's create a new runway for you. Let's do it together. I'm very excited.
Yeah, no, look, it sounds amazing and lots of different sorts of opportunities. And I'm glad, you went through the different sorts of roles, because I think it can be really easy to see what's in the movies and what's on the news and kind of pigeonhole robotics into like one space. So I'm really grateful that you could sort of talk through those things for our audience. I'm also wondering, you've talked a lot about, what you're getting out of the role or what you have grown, how you have grown through being in this role. It sounds like you quite enjoy being a part of this work and getting a great sense of belonging out of it.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a bit of a special case for me because the role that I'm in at the moment, a technical program manager, it's a new role that they created in the robotics and autonomous systems group. They haven't had this role there before. Usually we have a project management office. It sits outside of robotics. It's like a multi kind of service function that help feed into different parts of CSIRO. And the role is quite well, it's quite a typical like project manager role. But I find that being embedded within a robotics and autonomous systems team, there are nuances and skills that I've taken on and developed whilst being here that I think continuously test me out in terms of, okay, remember we tried that last time, it didn't work, and what do you have, how can we define this better so that our scope of work is really clear for both the client and us? It just strengthens that sort of skill set of like program management, project management, taking a project from, A to Z, executing on it, the scope of work, the budget, the timeline, the risk assessment, all of that is really tried and true within a robotics context. So I'm really sort of honing in on that set of skills within a particular area that continues to baffle me, just with the complexity of it. But I think what is a ongoing, consistent piece that I always look forward to about my work is it's so varied, and the application of robotics is so far-reaching and wide. I really enjoy the type of work that I get to work on because it's also like quite meaningful, and it can make an impact on the world, which is very exciting. But I think aside from the hype and the tourism that we're currently seeing in robotics, I think the hot flavor right now is quantum. Am I right? Quantum. Yeah. Come on. We've been trying to establish a relationship with a really good events team in Brisbane that are preparing for this nationwide event that brings in like 2.7 million people. And they're like, look, the theme this year, it's kind of quantum themed. So like,
tell them to go back to the drawing board. I am sure that, in terms of what you've talked about today, that people will be really excited to see what's happening in robotics in Australia. It sounds amazing.
Well, this is the thing, Ajari. I know that people are, and that it depends on who you talk to, because some of my team members are like, it's clickbait. People love this stuff. But I'm like, okay, well, how can we develop our communication so that more and more people within Brisbane and within Australia and beyond know about this robotics lab and what we do here, because it's such exciting stuff. And I'd hate to see us become irrelevant just because we aren't sharing what we do with more people. So that's something that's a bit of a theme for me in 2025 is more of that STEM outreach for both kids but also groups within Brisbane and beyond that are really interested in learning about this lab that's situated just out of the city in this amazing green space with lots of different testing facilities where you can just, to your heart's content, try to solve a problem in so many different ways with lots of people with very diverse skill sets.
It sounds like an adult playground to me. I mean, that's what it sounds like to me. And so, if you're hearing this and you want to share, please share the information that Rosie's giving you today. They want people to be interested and come and see. So, Rosie, I do want to ask if there are people listening today and they do want to empower themselves in terms of this space that you work in, what would be your top tips?
My top tip, I suppose, because my background is very different to potentially the typical person you may expect to work here. I don't have a STEM background, so I've got a Bachelor of Fine Arts majoring in sculpture and a double Masters of Marketing and Advertising. I've sort of pivoted quite a lot, and I've ended up in robotics, and I just love it. And I think that, if you're thinking about doing a pivot, whether that be in a role within your workplace or whether that be to jump industries, which is what I've done quite a few times, I just say don't be afraid of the pivot, because you never know where it might land you. And I knew I applied for five job applications within CSIRO over 4 years. I was determined. I was like, I know you guys are going to love me. I know you will. I know you will. And now I'm here. I'm like, you've renewed my contract. You still love me. Like,
it only took you 5 years, but you worked it out.
Yeah, it took a bit of time. I grieved a little bit the years that I wasn't here sooner. I still have a moment of like, what we could have done together. No, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. We start here. It's good. Yeah.
Sounds wonderful. And in terms of maybe doing their own kind of research, or, where should they go to find out more about robotics? If either they want to find out for themselves, or maybe they want to share something with their kids, what's the best way of finding out information?
Yeah, so the CSIRO, if you go to any museum in Australia, you'll find in the gift shop, we're having a great time in the gift shop. We're like, you want to know about reptiles? Get in the gift shop at the museum. We've done some work on them. We've done some work studying lizards and reptiles. But I think in terms of CSIRO, for children, we do produce a publication called Double Helix. And so if you are looking for resources for teaching your kids about STEM, that is a publication that CSIRO have developed, and it's aimed at the 8 to 14-year-old market. So you can kind of learn about those subjects and what various different researchers do within the CSIRO. But in terms of robotics, I'm really hoping to have more of a presence this year, particularly in Brisbane, but we also have sites throughout Australia, as I mentioned them before, in a lot of the major sort of states. So I think if you navigate to the CSIRO website, we've got a robotics link, and I can share that for anyone looking to.
Yeah, we can put that in the show notes.
And we've got some projects on the website. I think what we might do is also update our events page so people can see what events we'll be showcasing at this year. But you can also send through inquiries and things through the website.
Okay. So this is an open door, people. Please use the inquiries website link and ask away. It's been wonderful talking to you, Rosie, today. Very exciting things that you're on with. There's a plethora of things that you went through today that sound ultra exciting, and you will definitely get me out there this year in terms of seeing what the sites actually look like. So thank you for the invite. Thanks for coming today.
No worries. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for listening today. Do keep in mind that this is a podcast for informational purposes, and all we're really doing is sharing our opinions on things that matter to us. With that being said, if you liked what you heard and want to continue supporting us, share this podcast with your network to help us grow and bring on even more guests. Until next time, this is Ajari from EmpowerTech, signing off.